Hello,
Yeah.
everybody. It's great to have JP Duminy, former South Africa cricketer, or JP Bhai as we call him in cricketing circles. Welcome to the show, JP Bhai. How are you doing? Kaise ho?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Chandresh. It's good to be on your show and I hope you're keeping well. It's obviously testing times for everyone during this lockdown and we're finding ways to keep busy. But yeah, good to be on the show.
Thanks a lot, JP Bhai. I just want to go to the start of your career. You started off very young. You'd been 2 years in the Western Province side. You went to the England tour of under 19 in 2003. And then the 2003-4 season for Western Province was the breakthrough year for you because you averaged 72. And that sort of propelled you into national reckoning, as it were. Would you consider that as your breakthrough season?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. That was probably the season that people took notice. As you mentioned, was quite a breakthrough season for me domestically. And yeah, I got selected for South Africa at quite a young age, which was 20. And yeah, it was an interesting time because South African cricket was in interesting times where we weren't really playing very well. Uh, my debut was a tour of Sri Lanka in 2004, and yeah, we lost the Test series and the One Day series pretty convincingly from a Sri Lankan point of view. And then I got left out for 3 years again. So it was a high, but also a big low in my career because you get this extreme high of being selected, then doesn't go well, and then you get dropped immediately after. But in hindsight, looking back at it, it was probably one of my defining moments in my career because it gave me an opportunity to get a taste of what international cricket was about, and then came back to domestic cricket and understood, all right, there were certain things that I needed to get better at and use the domestic circuit and the coaches that I had around me to try and upskill on various fronts. And then, when I got my opportunity again late in 2006, early 2007, kind of took it with both hands and never looked back since then.
Where you speak about that particular phase, and that was when a very strong core in South African cricket was being formed. You had the likes of Hashim Amla, Graham Smith, Callis, A.B. de Villiers, and so on and so forth, and also Ashwin Prince. So it must have been very difficult for a young man to break into the Test 11. But when you got that chance in Australia, you grabbed it with both hands when Ashwin Prince got injured. First, let's talk about your debut Test match when you scored a 50 and had a partnership with A.B. de Villiers and won the Test match at Perth in 2008. That was really the start of a very strong South African Test side, wasn't it?
Mm. Yeah, we had a good crop of players coming through there, and as you mentioned, it was quite difficult to get in the side. And unfortunately, Ashwin Prince got injured day before the first test, and that gave me the opportunity. But what was strong in terms of the team culture back then was, as much as it was difficult to get in, I think when guys got an opportunity, there was a big support for your teammates, and particularly a guy like Ashwell, who I came in for, he was very supportive and encouraging. We played for the same domestic team, so when I came in as a youngster in domestic cricket already, he kind of took me out in his wing, and he was my senior, and showed me the ropes somewhat, and then I ended up taking his place through injury. So that was quite a nice way and encouraging way to come into the team, and guys knew that they backed you no matter what. You didn't have to prove yourself in terms of your performance in the team itself. They knew that you had put in performances on a domestic level and SAA level, that you had warranted your selection, and they backed you 100%. And going to Australia was always going to be a tough task. We had not beaten Australia in Australia up until that point, and yeah, walking out in that second innings, I think we needed about just over 100 to win. We're batting with A.B. de Villiers, who I know very well leading up until that point as we played under 19 together. So that was quite an historic moment for us, being able to do something that significant in South African cricket together. Two 24-year-old young boys. Obviously, he had played Test cricket before. He was kind of the senior guy, but we formed a really good partnership and got the team over the line, which was, as you mentioned, quite an historic moment for South African cricket.
And in the next test match, you did something better. And that was in an even tougher situation when you came out to bat with South Africa in a spot of bother behind Australia. You scored 166 and shared a record partnership of 180, which was between
Yeah.
you and Dale Steyn. And South Africa went ahead, won the test match, and won the series for the first time in Australia. And also, first time Australia had lost a test series at home for 16 long years. What was that
Mm.
feeling like as someone walking into bat in the second test match, team in a spot of bother and hitting a century and pulling the side out of trouble and leading them to a win?
Yeah, it was a historic moment in my career for sure. Kind of put me on the map in terms of Test cricket. But the significant part of that was leading up into that test, I wasn't sure whether I was going to be playing in that test match because I thought Ashwell Prince's injury wasn't as bad. But obviously, the day before the game started, they told me, right, I'm still in and so forth. So I kind of just took it as, well, Ashwell is injured. So once he's good to go again, he'll come back in. So I tried to let that be the part that kind of didn't put too much pressure on myself. And I then kind of just went out there, tried to give my best effort for the team. And at that point in time, as I mentioned, around the culture, there was quite a big drive in terms of support and encouraging one another, understanding what we needed to do in pressure moments. So that was quite a theme in our team at the time as well. Jeremy Snape was our performance coach, so I worked well with him and understanding how to stay in the moment and follow the process. And those are the key fundamentals that I try to stick to in those situations, particularly high pressure moments. Team in a spot of bother, can we form a partnership? And unfortunately, Dale was absolutely superb in that innings as well, scoring 78 and putting on a record 9th wicket partnership there with him. And he took 10 wickets in the game as well. So he had a significant part in the result of that game. But as you mentioned, the partnership was a key part of it. So those are the kind of thought processes that went through my head.
And those performances did not go unnoticed. You got picked that very season or the end of that season by Mumbai Indians for $950,000. That must have been a high. That must have been an affirmation of the effort that you put in for South Africa at international level, wasn't it?
Yeah, it certainly was. It was truly overwhelming in terms of the timing of it and when it happened. I didn't play in the first year of IPL, so obviously that is every young cricketer's dream, to be a part of being able to share change rooms with some of the greats of the game. And me getting opportunity to play for Mumbai Indians, Sachintendulkar was the captain at the time, and no doubt he was one of the world's best cricketers, if not the best at the time. And Zahir Khan, Jai Surya, Harbhajan Singh, Sean Pollock as the coach. So the names that were part and affiliated to Mumbai Indians was overwhelming in itself. So to get that opportunity was truly, truly amazing, and one that I will look back on very fondly as a true highlight of my career.
Is that where the similarities with Harbhajan's action came about, when you had a closer look at him?
Partly. It was interesting because that was something that I tried well early on in my junior career already. Having seen Harbhajan Singh come on at a young age and quite liked his action. And then I tried it, and what happened for me was that was probably the best shape I got on the ball. But then I just kind of went back to my sort of natural old technique. But then later on in my career, I thought, you know what, this used to work for me when I was young. Let me just try it. And I tried it a couple of days before a test match again. And for some reason, it just came out perfectly. The shape on the ball, the dip on the ball, and the turn that I got as well. So I thought, let me just take a risk and try and implement it in the test match. And that's kind of where it burst again. And I stuck to it for the rest of my career. So yeah, it was interesting getting to play with him and against him later on in my career. So we kind of had conversations around it, and a good few chuckles as well.
Let's skip forward to the 2015 World Cup. You picked up a hat trick in that 2015 World Cup. What do you remember of
Yeah.
that? Was that a special moment as well?
Yeah, for sure. The unique thing about that, I never quite knew it at the time. So what had happened was I obviously got a wicket on the last ball of my previous over, and then got a wicket on the first ball of the next over. So obviously I had not recollected that this was the case. And then I was standing at the top of my mark, and the umpire turned around and made mention it to me. And then I thought to myself, hey, I need to change my field, maybe set a more aggressive field. So I spoke to the captain, Avi, at the time, and we put in a silly point, we put a slip in, and so forth and so forth. And yeah, it was one of those deliveries that actually didn't turn, and the batter played for the turn, so played around it, and yeah, it was an LBW, pretty hitting the top of middle. So I was pretty happy with that, and to do it in a World Cup in a quarterfinal, a knockout phase game, was pretty awesome. Up until that point, us as a Proteas, we had this tag on us where we couldn't win knockout phase games. So for us to do it in the manner which we did against a high profile team like Sri Lanka, with some of the greats of the game playing for them as well, so that was quite a big moment for me.
And also then in that tournament, you had a special moment with David Miller as well. You shared a record partnership for the fifth wicket. What do you remember of that knock? You shared about 250 odd run partnership with David Miller in that. That was a record as well in ODI cricket.
Yeah, so that was our first game in the 2015 World Cup, and we played against Zimbabwe. So the expectation was there that we should win the game, but they had us up against it pretty early on. There was a little bit in the wicket. We played at Hamilton, and we were 4 down pretty quickly. So myself and David came together, and we consolidated for quite a long period of time. The pressure was on us. So it wasn't necessarily just about the situation itself being 4 down. It was the fact that we were playing in Zimbabwe, and there was this high expectation of us, thumping Zimbabwe. So it was trying to deal with those kind of pressures as well. So the partnership became so much more important, where we needed to communicate well with one another in keeping each other calm, staying in the moment, trying to play the ball on merit. And fortunately for us, we got through that uncomfortable phase, and we got to a point where we could transfer the pressure again, and that's what we did. And to build that partnership with somebody as destructive as David Miller, we've seen it time and time again how destructive he can be when he's going, hits the ball as far as anybody. So he built quite a bit of momentum, and then I piggybacked off that. I think he got about a 140 on that day as well. And then we got ourselves into a real solid position after 40 overs, and the last 10 overs, we kind of had the freedom to just express ourselves, which was obviously the great place to be for any cricketer, where you just have the freedom to kind of take it on. And fortunately for us, it worked well.
Do you look back at the 2015 World Cup as one that got away because you had the side to win the tournament? You had all the ingredients, and the semi-final in New Zealand in 2015 was a heartbreaker. How difficult was it for you as a group and personally to take that defeat?
Yeah, that was a tough pill to swallow for us. As you mentioned, we definitely felt like we had the team to go all the way, or at least get to the final. And I thought we fought extremely well in that semi-final. And yes, there are always going to be things that you look back on and you think we can do differently. But we fought till the bitter end, and that's the hallmark of the team at the time. Was we never gave up. We tried everything we could. And at the end of the day, on any given day of a game, you're going to have a winner and a loser. And unfortunately, we came up on the wrong side. But looking back at it, there aren't any regrets. We fought till the bitter end, as I said, and we gave it our all. And bitterly disappointed. There were many guys with tears in their eyes, in the change room after that game. But the beauty of the culture and the team camaraderie was that we got ourselves back up. We went to go and have a celebratory drink with the New Zealand team pretty soon after that, and just congratulating them. And they were very gracious in their victory, where they accepted us in, and we shared in their experiences, and that was quite a great experience for us, having fought tooth and nail on the field, but afterwards we came together and we celebrated what the ultimate, I guess, victory was, the game of cricket.
Coming back to Test cricket, you had one big partnership with Dean Elgar, which was again a record of worth 250 runs. What do you remember of that partnership, and is that one of the highlights that you want to remember for the rest of your life?
Yeah, when you think of highlights, that innings in itself is probably one of the most pure innings that I've had, where everything just clicked. And I look back at it and think, wow, man, that was probably one of my best innings that I've played for the Proteas. And it was just flawless. Everything came out of the middle of the bat. And again, we were up against it. We had come back now the third time to Australia, where we had won twice before. And, the pressure was on whether we could do it again. And again, at the place where it all started, we were at Perth. And we were up against it again. Second innings, we were all sort of square. So we needed to put up a big total to try and put Australia under pressure. And again, they got a wicket pretty early on, and we needed to fight back. And yeah, it was just an amazing thing to see how it unfolded, and putting such a big partnership together really put the team in a strong position. But as I said, one of the purest innings that I've ever played.
Not soon after that, you retired from Test cricket. Was it a difficult decision to make?
No, not necessarily. I, up until the retirement, I was post that innings, I struggled quite a bit in Test cricket. And, I needed to make a decision whether I would want to try and focus my full attention on probably the formats that I was more consistent in. And that would be one-day cricket and T20 cricket. And I just needed to weigh up my options and what is best for myself, but also what's best for the team. Being left out in 2017 meant that it would have been a long journey to come back side. So I just kind of looked at myself and looked at my career and what would be beneficial. I as I said, I had no regrets, but I had played 46 tests up until that point, and I thought, I had a great career in terms of Test cricket. Not necessarily the numbers, but my experience, and I represented my country for 46 games was more than enough that I could ever ask for. So I was pretty happy to step down and put my focus put my focus elsewhere.
You captained South Africa in a few games as well. How big an honor was that for you?
It was huge. Growing up as a young boy was never something that I thought about very much. Captaincy in itself was probably something that I didn't think about. I didn't really captain many teams when I was younger either. And as I grew older, leadership became more appealing to me. And I played probably a more leader without the title role for much of my time in the Proteas. And I really enjoyed that. But then when I got the opportunity to be front and center in terms of leadership, I actually felt that it brought out the best in my game. And I really enjoyed the responsibility, and I felt that guys responded pretty well to my leadership style, which is very much an inclusive one and not necessarily authoritarian. So yeah, I enjoyed it. And again, looking back at my career, to have said that I've captained my country on a handful of occasions is something that I'm extremely proud of.
You also went on to captain Delhi Daredevils in the IPL. How was that experience, and how was the experience of being part of the franchise cricket circuit overall?
Yeah, that was also something that I never saw coming, the captaincy for Delhi. Previously to that year, I had a really good season for Delhi. We had not done well as a team, but again, I formed some good relationships with the management as well as the players. And Gary was the coach at the time, and we had a really good relationship. And he asked me if this is something that I would want to take on. And I don't think I would have really if it wasn't for him, because he kind of encouraged me in it. And in terms of the franchise system all around the world, I've thoroughly enjoyed the opportunities, mainly because you get to understand how different players operate from different countries. You form bonds and friendships and relationships with guys from all over the globe. And whenever you get to play against them, you get to see them again, you get to connect with them and just feed off their energy. And I think it's been a great revelation for cricket in general across the globe, where friendships have been formed. And the old saying of cricket is a gentleman's game, and that's kind of solidifies that notion that you can actually form friendships outside of the actual playing field itself. And one will remember, yes, the performances that players put in, but what you'll never forget is how people impact your life and how you impact people's lives. And that is through relationships, that is through communication and conversations away from the cricket field. And that's something that I will always hold on to.
2019, you took the big decision of giving up all forms of cricket, including T20 cricket and one-day cricket. Finishing at the 2019 World Cup, did you feel satisfied, or did you feel that something was left to be achieved, at least in the one-day and the T20 format?
No, I left very satisfied. And the only question I had was whether the timing was right. But I think you kind of confirm those questions in your mind once you actually make the decision. It's difficult to answer those questions when you're still in the heat of it. And it was weeks after that I only really sat down and reflected, and I realized that, yes, this was the right decision for me. And the reason why I say that, the demands of the game is very high, particularly at the elite level and the international level. And I think my hunger and desire for those demands weren't there anymore. And I needed to be honest with myself and be honest with my team. And it wasn't going to be fair if I held on to something that I wasn't fully there for, and my heart wasn't fully there for. So I thought it was the right call, and it was a nice way to finish off also on a high at a World Cup. Yes, the team didn't do very well. I didn't do particularly well either. But I look back on my career with real fond memories and with no regrets, and relationships that I will take with me for the rest of my life.
You've obviously now finished playing cricket at all forms and all levels, but you're doing a lot of work with your foundation. Tell us something about that. And you're also into commentary now. You did the Under-19 World Cup, if I'm not mistaken. Tell us something about all the work that you're doing post your retirement.
Yeah, from a foundational point of view, and this is something that has been part of my life for 5 years already. So it's not something that is new. And now it's more a case of, all right, 5 years have gone by. We've touched many lives, many kids' lives. How can we look forward for the next 5 years and make a deeper impact in the communities? So what do? We run primary school cricket in Mitchells Plain in Strandfontein, which is a community that I grew up in, which is quite a big one. It is plus minus 1 million people. And to give you context of it, the cricket in itself was pretty much dead in the community. So we saw an opportunity to revive the game. So this is why we got involved. But the holistic picture on it is to create opportunities for kids to fulfill a dream, to fulfill a talent, but also to get them away from the negative influences of this community, which is quite rife, and it still is. We want to create opportunities for them to dream big, to set themselves goals. And it's not necessarily just to find the next cricketer. It's to give them support structures of goals and aspirations that they might have. So we're trying to look at different things now of how can we create more opportunities, how can we grow the foundation in a bigger and stronger way. And I believe that my career gives me a platform to really impact young kids' lives in a big way they see me as a role model. So I've got to ask myself the question, what am I going to do with that? How can I impact them in a positive way? And the foundation has been a great platform for me. I've got some amazing people working for the foundation that, on the ground every day, making sure that things are done. So I'm very grateful for the team that I have around me. But yeah, for me, it's also about mentorship. How do I mentor certain people through my experiences to come out and make something of themselves and encourage them in what they want to achieve one day? So those are the kind of thought processes that I'm going through. In terms of the commentary, it's just a great way to stay involved in the elite end of the game. I love, a different way and different platform of speaking and sharing in the game. It's very different pressures, so you don't necessarily have the pressures of playing. But it does keep you on your toes in terms of your knowledge of the game, so that you can part knowledge in the best way.
And will we ever see you being the coach of a national side, a franchise side? Any role as a coach possible in the future?
Look, I'm not writing it off completely. I think there's a potential for consultancy gigs if that ever comes up, and I think I would like to start there and see what that does for myself, but also, am I received well in terms of how I part knowledge, how players receive me? Do they feel that this is something that they enjoy? Because I don't want to fulfill something that people don't enjoy. So I'm also trying to work that out for myself. What is it that I want to do? What does the future completely look like for me? And I see there's some element of that. So again, it's taking it one day at a time, trying to fulfill things that really bring joy to you and that you love doing. So yeah, as I said, one day at a time.
Thanks a lot, JP. Bye. It was great talking to you after a long time, and keep doing the good work that you're doing, and stay safe, stay indoors. Hopefully, we'll meet soon.
Thanks, Chandresh.
Thanks a lot.